This is episode 55 of the More Doors podcast. We are here today with an amazing guest that's going to help all of our listeners achieve the next level of personal and professional development in their life. We're going to be back with our guest and my handsome co-host, Nick Good, right after this. All right, everybody, welcome back. Today is the amazing episode of More Doors podcast, number 55. Amazing. We are inching our way closer to the centennial mark, which I know Nick is chomping at the bit and like chewing his fingernails off with excitement about how quickly we can get there, right, Nick?
That's right. I think we can hit it by next week.
I love it. I love it. We have an amazing guest today, but before we get to our guest, we're going to roll over to Nick. He's going to talk about our wonderful sponsors and introduce our guest.
Absolutely. This show would not happen without Deep Blue Capital. Look, if you have money that you need to invest, right, you got it probably sitting in a CD. You probably got it in some high yield savings. And it's safe and comfortable right now. You're probably earning 5.5%. You're happy with it, but you're not getting those tax write-offs. You're not getting the growth, the true growth from it. Go over to Deep Blue Capital. Just go to deepbluere.com. Sign up for that investor newsletter. See what kind of projects that we have coming up. I know Matt is over there underwriting a ton of opportunities right now. We're seeing a lot come out in the pipeline. So deepbluere.com, sign up for that investor newsletter. And when you do, you're going to get a call from me. So just be prepared for that.
The bear himself.
That's right. And I just want to do a quick introduction and get to know you better. So deepbluere.com, and then start a podcast, do some videos. I was talking to a gentleman before I got here, and he's like, what do you think about starting a new podcast? I was like, I think you should do it. But you got to do it with Jesse over at Tor Studios. Just go to torstudios.com. He'll get you set up if you're here in Dallas with this beautiful background, great microphone. And if you're not, he can do it remote, just like our guest here that we'll introduce here in a second. So we've got Vamsi. We got Vamsi joining us, and it's Vamsi Polimetla. Right. And
got it.
What I know, I was
good job, bro.
It's a lot better. It's a lot easier to say that than Barbaro.
You still can't say.
See, I can't, but I can say Polimetla.
Okay.
Right. So Vamsi, what we like to do here, instead of me reading off from your website and me giving a boring bio, we want to hear it from you directly. Tell us who you are, what's your company, and what you're all about, and do it in 90 seconds.
Absolutely, Nick. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. And when you said All Doors podcast, first thing came to my mind was I was thinking how many doors that we have in our home. I started counting in my mind, and it is about like 12 doors, including my garage doors. So that's a good start. So little background about me. I'm originally from India. And I spent maybe first 23 years of my life in my career in the IT side. And about 8 years ago, I went to Tony Robbins event, and that's where everything started changing for me. And I launched my coaching business. Now for the past 6 years, I've been doing it full-time into the leadership coaching, mindset coaching, and helping so many people to step into their true greatness. So that's a little bit about what I do. And my personal side, I've been married for almost 20 years and the 2 boys. So amazing family living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Love it. I love it. And you did it in 90 seconds. Great job. So not many people can do that.
I'm pretty good at it.
Are you? Let's hear your 90 seconds, Matt. It's the elevator pitch, right? So tell me, and I was checking out your website here. And what I like to do, just to be completely transparent, I like to throw in the chat GPT to give me an overview of everything going on, right? And like it says, like in simple words, it's a group of people with similar goals, being a high-minded performer. So let me ask you, first off, what you got into Tony Robbins, and now what has inspired you to create a mastermind group for high performance, and how has that kind of impacted your personal journey?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I start with the word proximity, and we become who we associate with. If we associate with the five people who are just living their average lives, and we will become the sixth person. And the opposite is true. If you associate with five people who are always like pushing themselves, achieving something big in their life, eventually we'll become the sixth person. And that's the concept that I understand in Tony Robbins community. And it's not just originally from Tony, and it's been there for a very, very long time. And I started like associating myself with the people who are a couple of steps ahead of me in my life, like compared to where I was. And I started noticing the results. And success, it does not take time, it takes courage to go and surrender ourselves with the people who are doing extraordinary things. So that's how the journey started.
And
So it all started with the proximity.
And how is it currently impacting your journey? Everything that we do. Matt's a big personal development and growth minded. Brian the same way. I am the same way, and it never stops. But when you start a group like this, people come to join this group to also learn from you. So how has that impacted your personal journey from where you started and where do you want to end up being?
Absolutely. This is like it helped me to become a better version. When I was working in the corporate, the amount of like learnings that I was getting from the mastermind groups, I was applying into my career, and people around me started noticing it. And I used to get like promotions while everyone was just maybe running behind those, and those are the ones who used to come to me. And at one point, I realized this. You know what? I can start helping other people to get exactly the same results. And I started with helping my colleagues at work first, and they started getting the results. And I thought like, okay, let's help this outside of these four walls. And I started with one client, Nick, and that one client, I served him for like 3 months. And 3 months later, he came and gave me a blank check. And he said, Vamsi, the last 3 months has been phenomenal 3 months in my life. I don't know what you wanted to write it on the check. I will make sure the check will be cleared. And that is the moment I realized, wow, this is really, really impactful. I told him, hey, I don't want your check, but spread the word. Go and maybe bring a couple of your friends so I can help them as well. And slowly, like my one-on-one coaching program became a group coaching program. Now I have multiple groups like across the different continents.
Amazing. So one of the things I'm very interested in Vamsi is, so you had a 23 year career in IT. You go see Tony. Now you've been running your own coaching business for 6 years, right? Like, what was the catalyst for that kind of change? What happened in your life? What happened in your mindset? What type of external factors impacted you in such a way that you gave away a multi-decade career and likely a pretty lucrative, right, career? I've been in tech sales for a while, right, and I appreciate the amount of money that's available there. Why make such a distinct pivot in your career?
Absolutely. This is not just happened with the one Tony event. I went to almost like 15 Tony events, and I started investing into my personal growth, Matt, about maybe 12 years ago. And I started getting into the programs and reading books and conditioning my mind. And over the time, I felt like there is more that I can get into. I mean, like the better version I can become. And in this journey, while I was growing in the corporate career, I had an opportunity to become an advisor for the CEO that I was reporting to. And I started noticing a lot of things in the boardroom. And at the same time, I was going through all these conferences and attending, walking on the coals that we are talking about. I noticed that Tony Robbins is really, really enjoying what he's doing while delivering his value to other people. Whereas in the corporate side, I saw all the people who are super stressed out, who are not authentic, they're like losing their integrity to meet certain deadlines and all the things. And I felt like this is not the life that I want growing in the corporate career. And that was a pivotal moment. I saw there is other side like a Tony Robbins, Robin Sharma, Brendan Bouchard, all these other world-class coaches and teachers. They are really, really enjoying with what they're doing on the corporate side, super stressed out and not sure exactly like why they're doing what they're doing. And I just compared myself. Should I go this path or this path? And the answer was pretty clear. And the moment I got that clarity, I said like I wanted to go all in this direction.
I love that. That's a great story too, because I think I don't think I know I've had kind of my own crossroads with those types of decisions before, right? Where I have continued to have aspirations to move into a chief revenue officer, chief sales officer type of role, which is awesome, and I know I can do the work, right? But there's a trade-off there, right? There are trade-offs between work-life balance and how often you see your kids, and how do you stay present with your family, and stay present with your friends and people that you care about. And to your point, it can be it could be prestigious and it could be financially lucrative, but it can also be very, very demanding and in some cases draining, right? And that's very, very interesting that you had a kind of very similar realization there. So you mentioned before that you do a lot of leadership coaching, right? And this is something that I'm super passionate about. I'm inspired right now to kind of get your thoughts after the show on something that I've been working on and pushing out on my LinkedIn page. But of all the things that you could have chosen to do coaching about, like, why leadership, and what does leadership coaching mean to you and your community?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Leadership is not just about a title or maybe a position. It's about the way of being, Matt. It's basically like who you are being when nobody is watching you. So you could be a leader. You can still be just like maybe a single dad or maybe an ordinary manager. You can start showing that leadership. A lot of people, they associate leadership with I'm going to be leader when I get that promotion. I'm going to be acting like a leader after making my first 7 figures. No, that's not how it's going to be happening. It's the way you are showing up right now, and the way you're being in this moment. So that's the true leadership about. And it's all about number of stories that we are running inside our mind. And every single person is basically, there is a code, there is a software that is running between these 2 points. And that's exactly the leadership. The moment you upgrade that code to a more powerful code, anything is possible. It's not just about the material things outside. It's all like our inner stories that are running 24/7 when nobody's watching.
So let's talk about that a little bit more of when we think about reprogramming our brain, the habits. I'm 41 years old. And I have had 41 years of certain habits that have been, programmed subconsciously in my brain. What are if I'm wanting to change something, we look at this every single year because we're coming up on, in the not so distant future, we're coming up on New Year's, and most people do a New Year's resolution, new year, new me. And then in 2 weeks, they're back to the old them. And the hardest thing to do is reprogram their brain. So what are some training, some activities to help people to reprogram that computer code in their subconscious so that they can start having more success hitting their kind of new goals and the habits that they want to implement?
Absolutely. So it's not just about you start something on Saturday morning and you're going to be doing it. The best way to do this is just accept wherever you are right now. Every single thing what you did until this point helped you to become who you are today. And in simple words, like maybe you can say, hey, thank you so much for serving me until this point. And moving forward, I no longer need you. I want something better for my future. It's your decision that you are going to be having a conversation with yourself. The moment you get that clarity, what is that next step that you wanted to have? Everything will start changing in your life. But not many people are not willing to have that conversation. They are sitting in a pain, and that pain is not like a big enough to make like maybe a couple of steps from where they are towards like where they wanted to go. And they're sitting on the pain, and they're just complaining. They're always like maybe whining on the things are not working out. The simple answer is we need to decide, no matter what happened until this point, whether you're 21, 41, or 71, it does not matter. You can choose the best version from here onwards and say goodbye to the previous version and start creating it. And every day is a blank page. And you cannot create like maybe next year until like you create like maybe one beautiful day that is today. And you see, end of the day, you can ask that, is this the day that I can create 100 more times before New Year comes? And that will make me a brand new person. If the answer is yes, just go and do it. If the answer is no, see, ask yourself, like, what is something that I can change that I could not do it today? And if you do that tomorrow and ask the same question, is this the day if I can repeat 100 more times, can I get towards my finish line? And you'll get there.
Do you find that when people want to make change, or they say they're going to make these changes and implement these habits, and a lot of this has to do with getting healthier, right? They want to lose some weight. Do you feel that the things that they're trying to alter is such a 180-degree turn that it's so massive that it's hard for them to have success in the beginning, so they give up easier, versus having small, minimal, easy to hit goals that stair step or snowball into the big one? The easiest way I can think of it is in finance, Dave Ramsey, right? Which, whether we agree with him or not, he's got the snowball of paying off debt. You pay the smallest one off first, and it keeps that momentum going because you felt those wins. Is it typically what we see is that most of these goals are such a drastic change that the odds of actually implementing that are really low, so it gives an easier reason to give up?
Yeah, there are multiple ways that anyone can go in this direction. I think what I really love about something from Mike Tyson, and before he gets into the ring, he wanted to have at least 10 wins in his locker room. So he'll compete with the people who are like a lot lower than him to bring that momentum, right? The same way, maybe you can start something to create that momentum. It's again like a person to person. If that is the path, like some people wanted to get it, like maybe you first thing in the morning, you know what? I wanted to make my bed for tomorrow. And your mind immediately going to release the dopamine. You already got one task complete. And you go and next maybe do the second easy thing and the third easy thing. Before you come to your office room, you're almost like a 5-6 wins into your pocket, and you create that with so much momentum. And one other thing that I always help people to do that, Nick, is help them to write down their bigger goals before they start working on. If you spend 5 minutes writing down what is your north star, where you are going to be 2 years from now, and that is going to be conditioning. Every day we are creating so many things. And my recommendation for all of your audience is, before you create anything, create the creator. That is you. The moment you create the creator on the paper, you will be more powerful. You will get like a lot of alignment towards the goals that you are working towards, and you will make a difference.
Awesome stuff. Just out of curiosity, Vamsi, who are what kind of categorization would you give to the people that join your program? Are they from certain, age groups? Are they from certain professions? Is it all over the place? But, if you can help us understand that a little bit, I think that would be helpful.
Absolutely. So when I started my coaching business, I was pretty much coaching everyone from problem in career, problem in their business, problem in their health and fitness and relationship. So one point I felt like I was completely burned out because I was trying to help like so many people in so many directions. And at the same time, I got like mentored by so many people. I got the realization, if I go 1 inch in 10 different directions, I'm not going to be hitting any goal. At that point, I realized that I wanted to go 10 inches in one direction. And the 10 inches that I selected with helping Indian immigrants who are living in the US, whether they wanted to grow in their careers or they wanted to pivot from their career and launch their thought leadership businesses, especially on the digital space.
Amazing. Amazing. Something that you said before really resonates with me, right? And I hear this all the time. I've been able to hire and train and coach and hundreds of early and career sales professionals, and they always think about when I get promoted, I'm going to start doing this, or when I become when I get promoted to a manager, I'm going to start doing this. And they kind of, and I was guilty of this early in my career too, they kind of like force their way through it, right? And get there just by pure hustle and relentless work ethic, which is good, right? But there's an aspect of leadership where I think it's about growing into the person that your team needs you to be in order for you to deliver the collective results that you and your team are responsible for delivering, whether it's a revenue number, a quota, a product deadline, right? Some sort of operational efficiencies on the operation side of the business. And I think that's a very difficult realization for some people to come to, right? Because there's a lot of folks out there that kind of take the victim route. Well, I can't do this because of this, or I can't grow into that person because I have these responsibilities, so on and so forth. And it really takes like a breakthrough moment in order to help them understand that they may be the one standing in their own way, or putting their own limiting beliefs in front of their own aspirations. How do you help the people in your program identify those limiting beliefs and really kind of create that breakthrough opportunity or breakthrough conversation?
Absolutely. Well, whatever you said is like, this is very common thing that many people, they say that, I wanted to go to the gym after getting my six-pack abs. And it's not how that's going to work, right? So we all need to we all need to go to gym to get that six-pack abs. And not only going to gym, you need to do so many other things as well. In the same way, many people, they come with like a lot of limiting beliefs. I don't have resources, I don't have time, I don't have X, I don't have Y. These are like made up things. And recently, I think maybe a year ago, or maybe like 18 months ago, I saw a viral video, and one grandma was almost like a lifting a car. There is a baby went under the car, and the grandma is like almost like 85 years old, and she pulled all her resources to lift the car because baby stuck in under the car. And I think like maybe the security camera that recorded that video, that I showed it to at least like maybe 100 people in a different occurrences. She does not have the resources to lift the car, but she pulled every single thing to save the baby. When the baby fall into the car, and she was about to die, and this grandma saved the baby, right? So this is the same thing for us. If you really like want success bad enough, resources will never be a problem. We all have unlimited resources that are available to us, and we always telling lies to ourselves, like just like because our brain is always trying to put us in the comfort place. Our brain's only role is to make sure that we are secure and safe, and that's exactly how it is trying. And the moment you try to push yourself little above your comfort zone, it's always like trying to pull you back. And there are a couple of activities that I ask my clients, and also like sometimes my family members, including my mom and dad, my kids. Sometimes, you need to go for ice baths. Every part of your body is going to say, oh my God, like it's super cold, and there are like maybe 5 bags of ice in the tub. And if you take it, you are building that mental muscle. You are building that stronger thing. Once you come out from that, you are not going to be the same person. It could be something else, maybe jumping out from the airplane for some people, going for cryotherapy for some of them, or maybe doing something that is like impossible for few people, maybe being on the guest on a podcast, maybe getting on a stage and speaking in front of people. So it's all about we expanding our edges. The more we expand our edges will expand even more. But many people, they stuck there and they get addicted addicted from the paycheck, addicted from all the luxury things that they have, and they're thinking, you know what, I have resource issue. It's simply a lie that they're telling themselves over and over again. So anyway, you're telling a lie, why not tell a better lie to yourself? So that way you will get something that you want.
So, and beautifully said, and that goes into, there's people that work hard, and we kind of, what we typically do, I'm guilty of this. I'm Matt and Brian may be guilty of this as well. I'm going to lump them in. Is sometimes we try to compare ourselves to others, right? And we know that we work really hard. What do you see, Vamsi, as the difference between like these high performers and then just people that work hard? Because when we look at it, some of these people are achieving success, and you're like, man, I'm over here, I'm grinding it out 60, 70 hours a week, and I don't feel like I'm any closer to the goals that I set. But I've got this person over here who obviously is a high performer, and they're knocking off these goals that I want. What do you see as the difference between a high performer and just someone that works hard?
Absolutely, Nick. This is like a beautiful question. One common sense answer is we all have exactly same 24 hours, and you spent 24 hours yesterday, and I spent 24 hours. And one thing that is common is, maybe if you're telling me that I worked hard, you are telling yourself a different story there. And if I'm saying that I had a fantastic day, I'm telling myself a different story. And this is something that I think, like, I was listening to one other podcast, and somebody was talking about Michael Jordan. When maybe you take your kid to Michael Jordan and ask him, hey, can you make my kid like you? And what is Michael Jordan's answer going to be? It's not hard work. It's not like you need to follow a framework. Michael Jordan is going to say, you need to fall in love with the game. And that's exactly the same true for all of us. If you fell in love with what we are doing, it's not hard work. It's about we are spending 24 hours no matter what. But how we are spending is I think, like, it's a story. If you start loving what you are doing, even though you're a carpenter, you are enjoying that process. You are creating, you are an artist. You're creating something for someone through podcasts, through content, through coaching, writing a book, maybe writing a program, or selling a home, or creating something. And if you love that, it's not at all a hard work. It's just, I think, like, it's going to be part of you. And that's where I think, like, all the artists, they don't even know they're spending 70 hours a week on creating something, because they fell in love with that, and they look a lot younger, because once you are in that zone, the time will goes really, really fast.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
something Matt, I know you've experienced and I've experienced is when we got everything piled on us, right? I would put us in the category of high performers and hard workers. We're kind of both.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. But at the same time, when we're working hard, what typically happens is that we start to experience this mental fatigue and burnout.
Yeah.
Right. And so, Bam, it's like, what would you see? Like, how do you advise and coach people through that of working through and getting out of a burnout phase? Because, you hear, and to go back to what you just said, is find something that you love. That sounds great. But there's things that we do every day that I love that ultimately I'm like, oh, now I'm burnt out and I'm starting to fall out of love with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then it's trying to figure out how to get out of that burnout phase to fall back in love with something.
Absolutely. This is something that I learned with one of my mentor, Dan Sullivan. He's the founder of Strategic Coach, and he always talk about free days. And he recommends everyone to have a couple of free days a week. When you are in a free day, don't even think about anything related to your business, your work, or your career. Do something completely like a boring stuff. Maybe you just, if you're always selling something on the mainstream, and go and do some dishes that day. Or maybe just go and spend time in your backyard, or maybe take your kids somewhere and enjoy that. So that 3-day concept, I took it to the next level. In the past 4 years, what I've been doing is, this is again like a perk that all the entrepreneurs got. is your time, right? It's not just the money. You can control your time and you can do whenever you want and wherever you want. Being in this profession last 4 years, every year I'm taking 1 month completely off, and I'm going to somewhere, a foreign country, and going solo without any attachments. I'm not taking my work. I'm not taking my any business books with me. I'm just going me and my notebook and spending 1 month. A couple of times I spent in Himalayas in India, and this year I went to Bali and spent like 21 days, a complete like a distraction-free trip. So I think those things will recharge you, and you need to always create your future from that spot. If you're busy being busy at home and just like doing the same work, you will be doing like maybe incremental improvements. If you wanted to 10x, I think you need to step out from your current zone and go somewhere, and just like let the universe tell you what are the next things that you can do, possibly create in this lifetime. And I think like that's a game changer for me. If somebody asks me what is the best thing that you learned being an entrepreneur, I think having that time freedom and go wherever you are, whenever you want, and do whatever you want.
Yeah. And I completely agree with what Vamsi said. But you don't really understand how much of a meatball you just tossed into this, right? Because I've actually been thinking a lot about this, especially after our show last week, right? I think, and Vamsi, jump in here, right? But along the entrepreneurial journey, you get to these plateaus, right? Where you feel like you're doing a lot of stuff. Maybe you're riding a bicycle in place, right? Like Denzel Washington says, don't confuse activity with progress, right? But we're doing a lot of stuff, but maybe we're not getting the progress that we wanted to. And, I think, and, me, you and Brian, we need to continue to work on this, but we got to take a step back sometimes and say, where are we getting stuck? Where are you spending time? Where is Brian spending time? Where am I spending time that maybe delegating would give us more leverage in getting out of the shit that holds us down and kind of takes our head out of the game, so we can focus on more acquisitions, more strategy, more recruiting, stuff like that. And I think we've got to have that level of awareness to say, is it time to consider outsourcing? Is it time to consider making a hire? The other thing too that I think helps with this is, and I think you can probably attest to this, Nick, is on our weekly calls, right? We tend to jump into what's the next fire that we need to put out. And I think there's definitely a firefighting component to leadership and entrepreneurialism, but I wonder how our mindsets would differ if we step back on those weekly calls and said, okay, guys, since our last call, we had 17 people sign up for our newsletter. We had 4 investors respond to our Facebook ads. We have, soft commitments of however many hundreds of $1,000s for our next deal. Let's acknowledge the progress that we've made first and the steps toward broader success, and then go firefight. And I wonder if like that level of positivity and recognition for the stuff that we are doing would kind of change the outcome and the mindset that we realize during those calls.
Well, Vamsi, let's use this as if I can put you on the spot and use this as a mini coaching session. Matt, you're right, because like if every caller, I go back and look at, I went through a triage in my business. In October 21, I lost my business partner, my brother, who took his own life. And from that next day on, it was a battle, and every day was something negative. And when you're sharing that news with your team members, it's like, the shit rolls downhill.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're probably right, you got to celebrate those wins of what you accomplished. Right. And we started to kind of change that with, hey, we're still here. The company's not bankrupt. We're completing these steps. We're getting closer to certificate of occupancy. We've never built this, and here's the steps we took. So was it messy? Sure. So you're probably right. Every call that we need to lead with is let's look at the positives first, and then let's get into what needs to be corrected. And Vamsi, would that be something to kind of help stay in that mindset, or should you end your calls or end your meetings or thought processes with more of the positive?
Yeah, it's always good to start with. First of all, sorry for your loss, Nick. That's really painful, losing somebody that we love. Yeah, it's always good to start with gratitude. With I think that is going to something set the tone, and that's going to be bringing like a different energy into the conversation. I also recommend, especially if you have a team members, have a quarterly retreat, maybe quarterly, maybe outing day. Go somewhere where you typically don't go, and take your team with you, and be like just like a in an intimate setting, and take your notebooks and start writing it down, some of the things, some of the blind spots that you have, some of the questions that I ask my clients to reflect on. What were your biggest wins in the past 90 days? What are the big accomplishments in the past 90 days? And what are the lessons that you learned in this last 90 days? And what are the things that you think that needs to be improved? If you get a chance to go back and correct anything in the last 90 days, what are the things that you would correct? And I collect all the feedback from all the members. And I also I run something similar with my clients on quarterly basis in a nice locations like a Miami, or maybe sometimes I go to exotic locations, and we spend a 3 or 4 days and reflecting on those things. At the same time, we go deep on what do you think that helped us to win this big in the last 90 days? Whatever that we are thinking may not be the ones that helped really. There might be some underlying causes, and if you understand that, you can easily scale that. Most of the time, 90% of the world running maybe 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour in a first gear. And they're wondering why this car is not going faster. There are many gears that are available, but not many people are even finding a time to check for what is the next gear. And if you just give your team that maybe 1 day, 2 day time, I think your team will come back, and you will definitely grow faster in the next 90 days. And you decide this is my goal, this is my vision for the next 90 days, or maybe next 2 quarters, and you come out with a clear aligned strategy there.
Yeah, massive.
Totally.
So we got to go to Miami.
I mean, B and I have been trying to get you on Team Miami.
Yeah,
dude.
I know.
Let's go.
Miami's not my favorite spot.
We're going to find out next time Vamsi's there. We're going to go crash that party.
Exactly.
We'll buy the drinks, Vamsi, I promise. So
Absolutely.
Can you, I think you touched on a lot of really good stuff here, but just for the benefit of our listeners and frankly, Nick and I, can you walk us through kind of the framework or the steps to your coaching program? When somebody comes in, how do you sit with them? What do those conversations typically look like? And ultimately, how, what's your recipe for helping them get to where they want to be?
Absolutely. Very, very simple. I first start with help them to understand where they are on the map. And if you know where you are, it's going to be very easy to give steps towards where you wanted to go. The first step is help them to see where they are in the map. And the second step, help them to create a vision where they wanted to go. It could be maybe $10 million business. It could be maybe having a lifestyle, or maybe XYZ, and define that clearly and help them to see how they can go there faster. The point here is go there faster. So what are the things that they need to pack into their car to go there faster? And what are the things that they need to discard in order for them to go there faster? And most of the progress, most of the growth that happens, Nick and Matt, is not on adding more things. It's about discarding the things that no longer required for you to go there. And sometimes you need to create that space. And once you have that space, we all have the same spiritual DNA. And most of the times we got so many unwanted programs that we installed on that computer chip inside. And that's the reason that we are, maybe some people are going fast, some people are going slow, some people are stuck somewhere. And my coaching is more on helping them to uninstall those chips so that way they can go there faster.
Oh, that's great. Sorry, Matt. I thought you had something there. But Vamsi, so as you're going through and coaching people and masterminding, and you know, you're taking on and you're helping them have breakthroughs, right?
Mhm.
And you're growing your business as well. And there's times that you get stuck. Who are your mentors? Because you mentioned, you still go seek out mentors and coaches. Who are the people that in your world that help you, have your breakthroughs in your business?
Absolutely, absolutely. I always I surround myself with so many mentors, and in the past, like maybe few years, I had an opportunity to spend a lot of time with Tony Robbins. Right now I'm spending time with Benjamin Hardy. He's one of the author of 10x is easier than 2x, and also Chad Wilderson is one of an entrepreneur who created almost a 9-figure business from nothing. And I'm talking about like a very very intimate coaching. Along with that, I'm also part of like a many other mastermind programs. There is a coach I'm working with towards my mindset. The coach is from Bob Proctor's community, and have my fitness coaches that I'm working with, the Suprahuman, the body transformation program I'm going through. So many programs. I always the person who not how. And I'm also part of strategic coach with Dan Sullivan. You just name it. I think like pretty much a lot of times people ask me like, Vamsi, where do you have time for all these things? Maybe that is one of my weakness. I over invest in my coaching than maybe anyone that I know over the years.
And I looked at your LinkedIn and it said, you've spent over $600,000 on mentorship and coaching so that your members and people in your world don't have to. Um, what is that limiting belief or that obstacle to get people to part ways with their money to get into a coaching program, right? You hear about this. I have a friend who is in Tony Robbins' top group. It's what, $100,000 or $120,000, and he even said at the moment, he's like, that was the most amount of money, still the most amount of money I've ever spent. But he said it was the best investment he ever made. But it was trying to get over that mental hurdle of spending and parting ways with, a large sum of cash, only to have that belief that it's going to return, in tenfold, and it has. But where do you see a lot of these people have these hangups? Is it kind of a lack of self-confidence? Is it a distrust of there's actually something worth this monetary value that the coaches and the programs are putting on it?
So most of the time, I've been to those programs as well. I've been part of Tony's community, and some of the programs I paid like a 50,000 for just maybe five group coaching calls. So pretty crazy. Tony's is entire year that platinum partnership. So one thing, Nick, is people always seeking confirmation from someone, approval from someone, and they're paying that huge money to get that approval. The more you pay, the more chances that you're going to be taking whatever that the direction that other coach is giving seriously. If you go to a coach who is charging, let's say maybe $5,000, and you go to a coach who's charging like $175,000, and if both coaches gives exactly the same guidance, 99% chances if you pay 5,000, you're not going to be taking action. Whereas if you pay 175,000, you are going to be taking it seriously because you got skin in the game and you really wanted to squeeze it. It's not just the coaches effect there. It's about your story. Again, going back to the program that I was talking about in the beginning, everything is a made up story in your mind. This is something that I always tell my clients. Hey, when you join the program, don't think like you just paid me 10,000 or 15,000. Treat this program like you refinanced your home and paid like a 200,000 to me. Bring that commitment so that way you can demand more from me, and every single thing what I'm going to be sharing with you, you're going to be taking home and applying it, and you will get the results. The same thing for all of us. Sometimes, Tony's programs, if you go to Awaken the Giant Within, there's a book on Amazon for $15. If you read the entire book, Nick, for 100 times, it's equivalent to you going to Tony's Platinum Partnership Program. But I don't think maybe out of 8 billion people, less than maybe 10,000 people read that book 100 times because we get distracted. That's exactly what he teaches in his Platinum Partnership. There is not even a single line outside from that book that he coaches there. People pay $1,000 to go to in-person. People pay $10,000 to go to Date with Destiny. Every single thing, what he's covering is already there in that book. And you don't even go to Tony. You go to like maybe your spiritual books. Pretty much every single thing, what you need to hear, it's already in those books. The reason that you're paying coaches and mentors is to get that commitment from yourself. And they're basically providing some accountability by charging a lot of money.
You know, I appreciate everything that you just said there, but I think there's also two other things, right? I've been to Tony. I did the VIP experience. I didn't sign up for Platinum Partners. Maybe one day, right? I also didn't go to UPW to find Platinum Partners. I went to UPW to find closure to a couple of big kind of life changes that I knew I needed to make, and I found those, right? So, and I executed on them. But I think there's two things that people who are reluctant to make an investment, even just going to a seminar like UPW, right? Number one, you said this earlier, Vamsi, proximity is power. And whether you're spending $1,000 to get into UPW or $100,000 to go into, you know, another top networking event, you're surrounding yourself with other people that were also willing to make that level of commitment, right? And if you just talk to those people, you're likely to find someone who's got a similar story as you, similar aspirations as you, knows someone in their network that can help you. Maybe they're in a position to invest in deals or, you know, provide some sort of seed funding or whatnot to your idea. And the caliber of the people changes as you make those kinds of investments. The other reservation that I've heard from people is that, you know, how do I make a $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 investment? And I've always wondered if those people just knew that they weren't going to follow through after the event, right? Like we invested, you know, $20,000 or $25,000 a few years ago to go into a multifamily investing mastermind. Best money we ever spent. I never even think about the money that we spent until I mention the fact that we spent it, right? Since then, our portfolio has grown tremendously. I have people on text and emails that can answer multi-million-dollar questions in seconds because they've done it before, right? But you have to go through it and you have to actively participate after the fact. It's not just showing up that gives you the ROI. So, you know, I don't think there's a question there necessarily, but there is the participation and follow through factor, and people aren't good at following through. It's why they, you know, January 1st every year, you see a full parking lot at the gym and everybody's on the line trying to sign up. And by Valentine's Day, there's crickets running around by the bench press machine because everybody's already given up, right? There's lack of commitment. How do you coach your mastermind participants through that, Vamsi? And how do you hold them accountable for doing what they said they wanted to do?
Yeah, you're 100% right. People are not just going for coaches. They're also going for the community. They're going for that proximity. And this is, again, like a great reminder for going for events or joining any of the mastermind programs. You can't read a label if you're sitting inside the jar. The only thing that you can see is like maybe the same thing over and over again. And you stepping out from the jar, coming out and joining these programs will help you to see what is possible, what is like maybe other group of people are doing, and you start to experience it in firsthand. And if you just like start noticing like two other people investing into real estate, maybe investing into something even more fancy things, and you see, you know what, I never thought about that, maybe let me give it a try. Those things, those possibilities are opening up. And the way I coach everyone, Matt and Nick, is just help them to see the possibilities. And you know, if you're always like thinking, I have done all these things this way, and the moment you start like looking at what are the other ways that you available to you, And once you start operating from that space, and especially with the peer group, and Roger Bannister's stories, I think maybe you might have heard it like 100 times in your podcast episodes. So until Roger Bannister completed a mile under 4 minutes, no one else thought it's possible. Right now, if you look pretty much like a high school, maybe middle school kids are also competing. My son is going for cross country runs, and he's saying that I think I can run that fast. He's in 10th grade now. So the point is, I think we all have unlimited capacity. We are putting ourselves a lot of lids way below. And the moment you saw someone, maybe the person came from the similar background, person might have a similar resources like you, and the person is able to do that, automatically your mental consciousness, like it's going to grow up, and you are going to be increasing your capacity. We have a floor as well as we have a ceiling, and I help all the people that who associate with me, I help them to increase their floor. Obviously that is going to be increasing their ceilings, and at one point their ceiling will become their floor, and they start like getting into the new ceilings. So that's how like I push them and expand their boundaries. And again, like, there is no end to this. Every new level is a new devil, right? If you go to the next level, you're from like 7 figures right now, maybe you go to 8 figures tomorrow, and you're going to face like completely different challenges. You need to start paying more to Tony Robbins. Platinum partnership may not serve you, or maybe other coaching program may not serve you. You may need like maybe $1 million coach that can help you to go from 8 to 9. So that's how the game is designed. That's how like all the Olympic athletes or maybe champions and elite entrepreneurs are operating.
Amazing.
If this is valuable as you're listening to this, because this is, again, it sounds like Vamsi charges $10,000 to $15,000. So this is, we're getting in on some great free coaching advice right now. So if this is valuable to you guys, make sure to leave a 5-star review on Spotify and or anywhere you're listening to this, or hit that subscribe button on YouTube, and then follow us on LinkedIn as well. But Vamsi, as we're wrapping up here, we truly appreciate your time. What are the first two, 1 or 2 actionable steps that someone who's not in this mastermind, your mastermind, any mastermind right now, what would the some actionable steps be for someone, that can start taking action today to begin their journey of becoming a high performer?
Absolutely. So we can't hit a target that we don't see clearly. That's the first thing that you need to realize. You need to understand what exactly that you want. Most of the people, they want something because their neighbor has it. They want something because like some of their family members already done that, and they're going that way. So instead of you going that way, slow down a little bit, go somewhere maybe with you or your team, somewhere that you never been before, and ask yourself this one question: what is something that I really, really want? And maybe give yourself 2 hours, maybe half a day, to come up with the list. And once you have that list, you're going to get a lot of clarity. I'm pretty sure if you spend like a half a day there, you're going to be completing like maybe 10 pages. And you look back and there is a pattern there. Once you identify the pattern, you understand this is exactly like I've been seeking throughout my life. And identify what is that, like maybe the top one, and just start working towards that. Please don't just go because somebody else is doing it and it sounds like a cool thing. Go back to the fundamentals, slow down a little bit. Slowness is the fast way to grow faster. So that's my advice.
Got to slow down to speed up.
Yeah.
Right.
Slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Exactly. And there's a book, a great book that a friend and mentor of mine wrote called Grit Factor by Logan Stout. And he talks about the bullseye, finding that bullseye, but you have to know what the target is.
Yeah.
And so Vamsi, you hit it, hit the nail on the head. And Matt and I and Brian, who probably wishes he was here for this one, we greatly appreciate your time. Where can people find you? I know that, you've identified your target market, but as our listeners are listening to this and your message is really resonating them, we want them to be able to reach out and make this valuable for you. So where can people find you?
The best place to reach me is on LinkedIn. My first name Vamsi, last name Polimetla. Just search me on LinkedIn or search me on Google. You'll find me there, and a lot of content that I put out there. And yeah, that's the best place.
Jesse, we'll have that in the show notes.
Yes, we will.
Awesome. So that will be in the show note. So just look in there wherever you're consuming this, and just just connect with Vamsi. Again, this was super valuable, Matt. I could tell, like, there's, when we go through this, especially when we're trying to talk about some personal development and personal growth, it's like, some of these things we've heard before, and then there's always takeaways. Like there's takeaway items in here that, or it just hits different, right? It's about finding that target in that bullseye. It's like, oh, that brought up the Logan Stout, the Grit Factor book, and how he personally coached me. So I know this was valuable.
Totally.
Yeah.
And, like even just Vamsi reminding us about, 10X is easier than 2X and who, not how, and a lot of the kind of books that we've kicked around in the last few months and things that we need to do to continually optimize. It's just good to hear other people say it, and then, get the good refresher.
100%. Vamsi, thank you for your time. Again, go leave us a 5-star review so we can have more amazing guests just like Vamsi, as well as hit that subscribe button on YouTube. And then you got to thank the sponsors, right? Deep Blue Capital brings this to you. So every week, Deep Blue is the sponsor of the show. Go to deepbluere.com and sign up for our investor newsletter. That way you can see what type of projects they're being offered, and just investment advice that's coming out every single week. That is deepbluere.com. And again, get on podcasts like Vamsi talked about, is like, just get something out there that's really outside that comfort zone that's going to help you grow. Just commit to it. And a podcast is one of them. I know that there's people that, my wife who did the Wife Takeover show. I mean, that was probably the scariest thing that she could do, is she doesn't like to put herself out there, especially on camera. And
she did great.
Yeah, they did amazing. All the women did. And so you need to go to tourstudios.com, connect with Jesse. He'll set you up with an amazing podcast, make you sound good and look good. And when you sound good and look good, you feel good. Right.
I mean, look at us. I mean, we're 3 gargoyles and we actually look pretty damn good.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks to Jesse.
Yeah. Puts a lot of makeup on us.
That's it.
Yes.
So some AI sprinkled in.
Yes, 100%. So we're not really smiling right now. So, all right, Matt, till we're one more in the books to get into 100.
That's it. We're inching our way there, brother.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
Yep. Don't call me Shirley.
All right, everybody. Thanks very much. Oh, by the way, if you send us post a 5-star review online, send a screenshot to office@deepbluere.com. We'll send you a free Deep Blue Capital hat that we just had swagged out, and as a thank you for doing that. So talk to everybody soon. We'll be back next week.
Thank you.